Hello and welcome back here at feelingTERrific. Today I have another special guest with me. Her name is Noelia Sierra. I hope I pronounced the name correctly. But basically, you are a CEO, right? So you have your own company, your own business, and you're working as a
Yes.
LinkedIn expert. And the background to that is quite interesting. So we will come back to that later. But today we will talk about different topics, and among them, how you ended up building your own company and what you learned during the way or along the way, and also basic why is your business based on LinkedIn, right? So I think that this is kind of also the nerve of the time, right? But more to that later. Basically, thank you for your time, Noelia, and I look forward to an authentic insight.
Thank you, Christian, for inviting me to this terrific interview. I'm so happy to be here chatting with you and with all the audience listening to this podcast.
Perfect. Yeah, maybe let's start with the first question and the most interesting one. Who are you?
Oh wow, that's a very good question. So, I'm a 42 years old lady from Spain that day by day follow her dreams. That's what I would say. One day I decided to move to Ireland because I wanted to be fluent in English and work for a tech company. And today I can say that I managed to get there where I wanted to get.
Yeah. So basically, what drives you is an intrinsic motivation. Then, am I right?
Yes, yes. So, um, I have to say that I'm Taurus. I'm quite stubborn. So when I put my mind and my focus on something, it's like, okay, I want to go for it. And at the same time, I have this kind of like perfectionism. So when I decided to move to Ireland, I knew that I wanted to speak English like fluent, trying um, to imitate the accent as much as I could when I speak English, and then work with for these tech companies. So these big companies, these tech companies, as you know, in Dublin, like they're like a Silicon Valley, right? So Dublin was the Silicon Valley. So when I moved there, um, and we can chat about that afterwards. When I moved there, I knew that I wanted to work for one of them, and that was my big motivation. How I can get there? What are the things that I need to do? What are the people that I need to meet on my way? And yeah, that's what I did for for the past years, to get to work for these companies.
Maybe let me pick up one thing you mentioned, right? So you just mentioned that you're
Yes.
kind of stubborn, right? What would you say?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of contributes did this attribute of yours help you to be the person you are today?
It's a good question because for some people being stubborn it can be something negative, right? Like, oh, you're very stubborn, like you're. But for me, it's someone that is very committed to do what they want to do, and so you can be stubborn in a good way, and be focused. That's what I will say. So if someone here listening to us is also Taurus and they consider themselves a bit stubborn, it's not a bad thing. I think it's just that it's a good thing if you know how to manage it, right? Sometimes you need to let things go, and it's fine, because obviously in life maybe you want to achieve something, but there are external factors that are not in your control, so then you need to let them go. As long as you acknowledge that, being stubborn is fine.
Yeah. And how did you feel, or how or when did you know that it's the time to move back to Spain?
Yeah, that's a good question because I was in Ireland for 15 years, right? And I never felt before what I felt like 2 years ago. So basically, I was living there. I was having my dream job, good salary. I was traveling around the world whenever I wanted. I have that flexibility. So basically, I had everything. But then the pandemic hit Europe, the world in general, and things started just to fell apart, let's say, or change in my life. So then for me, like health and family and friends, like it was key. No matter what I was doing in that moment, but the most important thing for me back then was my health, my family. Anything else was secondary, right? So then I was thinking of, okay, so what you want to go, what you want to do. And during my time at LinkedIn, I was helping also people to get the job they wanted. I was helping them with their brand, so building their brand on LinkedIn. I was helping them with interviews, prepare interviews for tech companies. I was helping business and owners to work on their strategy to attract talent. So I was doing all these things, and then it was something that I really enjoy. Really enjoy doing that every day, and also supporting my team, because I was managing a team back in the time when I was when I was at LinkedIn in my last few years there. But then, as I said, the pandemic in 2020 started. We had to work from home. We were not prepared. Well, we were prepared to work from home, but we were not prepared. I'm not a psychologist or psychiatrist or anything like that, right? And then I had to deal with my team. My team was from Spain, based in Ireland. They were having like COVID family issues and cases in their families. So it was tough for me to deal with everything, and also for my own situation, for my personal situation. And then in the middle of that, LinkedIn announced that they were doing a reorganization. So basically, they were doing some layoff. Around 1,000 people lost their job, and I was part of this group of people. And then I think that was a big wake up call for me. Like, okay, if I always said, I always say that if something happened, it happened for a reason, right? So if that happened, it's because something better was waiting for me, because what I wanted to do for a long time, to set up my own business, it was getting closer, right? So in September 2020, I lost my job with LinkedIn. At the beginning, if someone went through a layoff, you can understand the feelings, right? So you go through frustration, fear, then you just acknowledge, okay, it's me, it's a number, it's not Noelia Sierra losing the job, but just a number for this big tech company. And then I started getting approached by ex-clients, people that I help in along the way, and they were asking me for help, and they were telling me, why you don't set up your own business about what you've been doing for a long time and something that you really enjoy. And then I started thinking, like, yes, why not? Because many people were telling me, like, listen, you can't charge people for what you're doing, right? It's your time and you're delivering results. So why you're not doing that? And then I just, did my research, look around, look at competitors, look at the skills that I needed to do that. Yeah, and then here I am. It happened. It happened.
And all happens for a reason, right? I'm
Yes.
curious. How long did it take you to take the mental focus around once or when you did get the notification that you are part of the restructuring?
So it was a long process, I have to say, because it's true that in these big tech companies, when they make these decisions, I mean, it's not easy, especially for the people that is around you, the people that know you. Everyone wanted to help me, right? Because I had a very good brand within LinkedIn in Dublin, in my department, in the talent solution department. And people couldn't believe that I was the one leaving the company, right? Not even myself, but I was trying to explain them, like, listen, it's not Noelia Sierra, it's a number. So, but everyone was kind of like trying to understand um, why that happened, and there was no reason, as I said before. So in July 2020, they announced this, this situation. They made this big announcement. They send you an email and they tell you you could be the one living. But I didn't know 100% if it would be me or if it would be a colleague of mine. So then we were having meetings every week with managers, with people from the US. In August the 10th, so that was, there are dates that I will never forget. These are ones of them. So the 21st of July, I got the notification of, you could be the one. On the 10th of August, I got, yes, you're the one leaving the company. And then during that process, until the 16th of September, you're having conversations with HRs, with solicitors, etc., and also with other departments, because, of course, LinkedIn wanted to help and they wanted to reallocate me maybe in other departments where I, could do another job as manager. But then, I was trying of thinking of why I need to force things. So let's take the time to think. Let's leave, and then if I have to come back, I will come back, or we will see. So it was almost like 3-month process. It was tough, but I decided to. That was in the middle of the pandemic, so I decided to not to be alone. So I flew to Spain. I spent few weeks with my family. So when I got the notification, I was back home with my family. And then in August, I was in Mallorca. I rented a studio there and decided to spend the whole month there to deal with this in a better way. At least I could go to the beach and scream if I needed. So I rented an apartment there for the full month of August. Then I finished in September, and in September I was also with my family, and then I came back to Dublin, packed my stuff, and then I went to travel. I know that it was the middle of the pandemic, but I was looking at the map and saying, okay, where I can go, where this COVID, it's a bit not that strong. So I went to the Greek islands and spent there another month, traveling around and kind of like getting the right mindset to decide what to do with my life. Because from one day to another, you have like a great job, great salary, great colleagues. Then you find yourself in the middle of a pandemic and with no job, and with, okay, what I should do now after 15 years living in this country? Is that the time where I have to go? Is that the time that I need to try and work for other companies, or what? And I got the answers during my trip, during my travel. So I'm happy that I stepped back, took the time and think about my next move, because I think it's important. Sometimes if we take decisions when we didn't have the right time or spend time with ourselves, it's sometimes it's in a hurry, and then we make wrong decisions. So yeah, that's what I did.
Yeah, no, I think this is really, really interesting, right? Because I think also, or isn't it interesting that one situation or one thing that happens can have such a huge impact, right? So as you mentioned, you're thinking like, I'm in the middle of my life. I have a great salary, great colleagues, great company, etc. Then from one day to another, all changes, right? And then also additionally with COVID, with the pandemic, which
Mm.
is another thing, right? And then I also like that you got the answers. To quote, you got the answers from your travels, right? This is also something really
Yeah.
take the time to deal with yourself and finding the solution. And are you happy? Are you happy with that?
Yeah, I'm super happy to be honest, because as I said, I took the time, I went to Greece, I was in Crete, and I met one girl that I met during my Erasmus program in Sicily, like a long time ago. We didn't see each other for many years. So then I was explaining her what happened, and I was explaining her what I wanted to do back home in Spain. And she was asking me, and why you don't do that? So what is stopping you? What is stopping you? And then I was like, you're right. So like right now, nothing is stopping me. So mm, in that moment, I booked 1 month of hatha yoga certification, training certification in Portugal, because uh, like my next project here in Spain is to open an experience retreat, right, where you can come here and experiment, the culture, the gastronomy of my region, and also work on your well-being. So part of my skills development was okay. So I'm gonna get my Hatha Yoga teacher certification. I wanted to go to India, but COVID stopped me to do that. But then I was finding solutions around me. And then I found this guy that is from India having this ashram in Portugal in the middle of the forest. So I moved there in November 2020. I spent there the month. I got my teacher certification. And I said, yeah, that's good. That's what I needed to do. And then when I came back to Dublin in December, it was the beginning of December, I decided to spend there Christmas and see. And then um, and then it was at the beginning of the year when I started like doing some work and some research on on the business that I wanted to develop. My consultancy firm, I was getting these messages from ex clients and people that I help, and that's how it happened. That's how it happened.
Yeah, no, this is a really, really inspiring story. And first, congratulations to everything, to all the
Thank you.
accomplishments you've done since you've been laid off, because I think this can also be kind of a kind of a tipping point, right? Either you make it
Yeah.
after this experience, or you won't, right? And yeah, I'm grateful for
Mm,
you that you made it. So that's really great to hear, and thank you for sharing. Maybe
thank
let's
you.
have a different perspective. So basically, you mentioned you
Mhm.
wanted to go to Dublin, to the Silicon Valley of Europe, kind of, where all the big tech companies are, right? But why particular
Yeah.
LinkedIn, or how did it come that you end up there?
In Dublin. Do you mean how I ended up in Dublin?
In Dublin, and
Yeah.
maybe not necessarily Dublin, but more LinkedIn.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so in Dublin, I ended up in 2006 because I wanted to learn English, and I heard that Irish people were great and very friendly, and they probably will be, you know, I will be finding opportunities there, and they will give me these opportunities. And I can say yes, that's true. And then LinkedIn, it was through one of my ex-colleagues in Indeed. I used to work also for Indeed, the job search um, website. And one of my ex-colleagues started as a manager in LinkedIn, and then he was building a team for the Spanish region and the Italian region. And then he contacted me when I was still working for. Well, no, actually, I was in a break because I took a break after a few years in Ireland. I was just studying marketing and sales and a few things. So he contacted me through LinkedIn, of course. he was offered me this job as a relationship manager in his team, and I knew LinkedIn as the place to go and look for jobs and so on. But then when I went to work for Indeed, something that brought my attention was I help people to get job, or we help people to get job. That was the Indeed message, right? Slogan, or what they said. And I said, well, I want to help people to get jobs. So, but then I ended up like selling clicks or buying traffic from other websites, So I have this very good relationship with this guy. So I was asking him like, okay, tell me, the product that you're selling, is that good? It's not good? It's like selling sun in the desert, or is something else? Because I don't want to get there, get bored. And also I had like a very clear goal that it was to manage a team in the next company that I joined. And I said to him, so what are the chances for me to grow in the company and manage a team like you do now? And he was telling me, listen, this is a great company to work for. The team is great. There are many chances that with your skills, you will be able to manage a team in a few years' time. Just, do the interview, go for it. Honestly, this is not like buying and selling traffic. It's something else. You will have an impact in people's life. Then Dublin is very small. So I knew people working at LinkedIn, ex-colleagues from Indeed as well, and from Google and from Facebook. Everyone in the tech industry knows each other when you work in Dublin, because it's a small town. So then I did my research. So I went to the LinkedIn office. I was sitting with people that were doing already the job that I was offered to do. And I did my research. I went to the office. I have lunch there. So I could feel and see the great culture that they have, and the values, the company mission and vision. I could understand better everything. And of course, everything was aligned with what I wanted to do, because for me, it's important that the values of the company that you're going to work for are aligned with your own values. And the culture is also very important. So I said, okay, let's go for it. And I did like few interviews. I passed them. A few months later, I was working at LinkedIn as a relationship manager for the Italian, Spanish, and the Portuguese market. But it was great.
Yeah, I'm coming back to that in a few seconds, right? But maybe one question before. So you also just mentioned, and that's quite interesting, right? And I think also something which is on top of mind for almost everyone, but I would say more also for the younger generation, right? Purpose, to have a purpose within the job you're doing, right? So how important was it for you? I mean, it sounds like that it was important, but how important was it for you to have a purpose in the job that you do, to have an impact or something like that? But also, how important was it for you to do your due diligence?
Yeah, I believe that having your purpose, or having this clear goal of what you wanted to do or you want to achieve in life, for me, it was a huge motivation, right? So everything I was doing at LinkedIn, I knew that it was having an impact in a global economy, not only for the companies that I was helping, for the people that like the LinkedIn members. It was like a much like a big picture, right? So I was thinking not only like short term, what I'm doing right now, but long term, right? And I invite everyone to see a YouTube video about the economic graph that LinkedIn was building, where basically, because all the data that they gather, all this data, if it's well interpreted, you can get information and insights that, if they're well used, they can have a huge impact in in the global economy. And that's what LinkedIn is doing, right? So they're getting all this information, and they're speaking with governments, and they're speaking with ministers and saying, listen, we see that there is a tendency in this country for these jobs, right? So we're getting a lot of these jobs, but we're seeing that people don't have the right skills to develop this job. So why you don't talk to your universities? Why we don't encourage people to study more of these, to just when they finish, they get a job straight away, right? So this is all of LinkedIn, what it's doing at the moment, which is great. And for me, being part of that, even if it was like a very, very tiny part, but it was a huge motivation, right? I wasn't waking up every day only because of the salary that I was getting paid every month, or because of the cool office that that we have, because it's a very nice office with free food, free gym, etc. Of course, that helped, but for me, being part, and maybe that is also part of my personality, right, and who I am, but being part of a big project like the economic graph and what they do now, it was important, and definitely it kept me motivated. That's why when I was part of the layoff, I was a bit disappointed at the beginning, because for me it was like, wow, I gave you so much. I gave you so much of my time, of my passion, and then you're paying me off like that, right? But then I understood that it was part of the game. It wasn't something personal. It was business. At the end of the day, I was part of a business, and that's how business works sometimes. So.
Yeah, no, I think nothing to add, but thank you for sharing your perspective on the purpose side. I think that's also quite interesting. And yeah, at the end, the salary isn't every time all of it, right? So there are also other aspects which have to be considered. And yeah, for you, it's purpose, and that's really great. And as you mentioned, yeah, at the end, it's business, right? And I think there's also a misconception of it, that yes, the culture makes a company. Sometimes there's the word family, but it's quite a fine line, isn't it, to really have the understanding that it's still business.
Yeah, it's true. So if you work for a company, it's not your own business, you just if something like that happened to you, you don't have to take it personal. At the beginning, probably you will take it personal, because, as I said, if you're very attached to your company and what they do and why they do it, what is the mission and the vision of this company that you're working for, at the beginning, probably you're going to take it personal. But don't take it personal. That's my advice, because it's not something that it's against you. It's something that it has to do with something else, with how the market is doing, how the economy is it's growing, it's moving, now. And I'm not speaking out there because I know the last few months, the last year, how many people have lost their job in tech companies, right? There were so many layoffs, even in LinkedIn and other companies. And it's difficult, especially when you have families, when you have projects, when you bought a new house, a new car. But those are things that can be fixed. And there are other jobs out there. And working for someone else is not the only option. You can have your own business. Talk to your mentor. Talk to any, like Enterprise Ireland, for instance, in Ireland, if you need information about how to set up your business, or what are the help from the governments that you can get, because there are a lot of things that we don't know because we didn't do it before. So the easiest thing is to go out there and find another job in another company. But if that is not the option, or it's not working out because of the current situation, try to think of what are your strengths, what are you passionate about? What do you think that you can do for people that, of course, will be able to pay you as well? Because one thing is a hobby. I could say, yeah, I love dancing every day. Yeah, and I got even like my Zumba instructor certification also during the pandemic times. But is that something that I can do every day and live with that salary or with that thing? So we need also to be realistic, and down to earth and see, okay, so I can get money doing this and helping with this, what value I can add out there. So that would be my advice also for people that just lost their job and are quite thinking of, okay, what I should do, where I should go. There are other options.
Yeah. So that was almost a pitch for the end of our conversation, but we are not at the end of our conversation. But that was a really good advice. Um, and also maybe one more thing. So you mentioned that you wanted to move to Ireland or to Dublin to learn English to speak fluently, right? So maybe from
Yeah.
my objective perspective, and I'm not the expert when it comes to English, right? But I already can hear your accent or dialect, the Ireland one. So well done.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, I love Ireland. Honestly, if someone from Ireland is listening to this podcast, listen, guys, your country is beautiful. You're so generous. Never felt as a stranger in Ireland. The companies that I work for, Irish, Americans, any company, they were always open to give me opportunities and grow and help me to develop new skills and grow within these companies. And I was very lucky to cross paths with many people, many talented people that were my mentors. And to be honest, they will be forever. And I have this attachment to Ireland. So every time I can, I go to Ireland, I go to LinkedIn office, I visit my ex-colleagues. So I'm very happy what I do now because I have that linked with Ireland, and I of course it will be always in my heart.
And we are happy for you. But maybe let me add on what you just said on the growth part, right? So you also built a region for a bigger corporation, right? In this case, LinkedIn. How did you feel about it, especially compared to building now your own region or business in
Yeah.
the region?
To be honest, at the beginning, it was quite scary because you start to listen to these limiting beliefs that we all have, right? It's like, okay, so will I have the ability and the skills to do that for this company? But they trust me, right? They trust me, and they trust also one of my colleagues, because back in the time we were only two managers for a big team. We had to hire a lot of people and build the team for the Iberian market. So it was a huge responsibility, but we were very strategic. And then we kind of like divided the roles, right? So he was more analytical. So he was in charge like some of the parts of business that needed more analytic and strategic stuff. And then because for me it was because of my personality, working with people, interviewing, dealing with anything that had to do with people, it was kind of like coming natural. So I was in charge of all the hiring, and I was in charge of working on the employer branding strategy to attract the talent that we needed. It's a huge responsibility as well, because if you hire the wrong talent, it will have a huge impact in your business. So no matter how analytical you are and how cool your strategy is for the market, that if you don't have the right people, you just fail. So I have to say that we made a good team, and I never felt alone. Not because of him, also as a colleague, but also our director. It was very helpful. our mentors. We all have mentors and coaches in LinkedIn. So if I needed help with anything, they were there to support me, and it was great. So I think that's the big difference, right? Like if you are in charge of a task as a manager in a company, and they said, okay, you have to build this, you have to build a team, you have to build the strategy for the market. I will say that you don't have to do that alone. You have a director where you can get insights um, and what they expect from you for that particular role. You have other people in the company that are doing the same for other markets, and these are the people that can become your mentors or your coaches, because they've been there before. So that's what I did. I was looking around me and I said, okay, so what is the most successful market right now? So let's sit with them. Let's sit with this manager and see what they're doing. Of course, because of the different culture, there are things that are going to work for one market and not for another, but you need to try. You need to try and surround yourself by the right people. So never think that you're alone when you are given like some task or responsibilities in a role. That if you're doing that on your own, believe me, you're wrong. You probably will be burned out soon, or you will be leaving the role soon because it's too much. It's too much.
Yeah. No, I really like it what you just said, right? So take the perspective that you are never alone, and really having the
Hmm.
mindset of being a rookie, right? I don't know if you know the book
Yeah.
Rookie Smart from Liz Wiseman. It really describes it quite well, so that you will succeed and also be a better version of yourself, especially in a professional but also in a personal context. If you really
Hmm.
try to take the perspective as a newbie, and what would a newbie do, right? Build and leverage the network, try how he or she can be, one step further and stuff like that, right? So that was really a good, interesting
Hmm.
perspective of yours. Um, Maybe to summarize LinkedIn, right? What did you learn during your time there?
I learned a lot of things because I was with them for almost 5 years, but I have to say that everything was very intense from day one when you join this company, honestly. And actually, when I had to describe, when people were asking me, oh, how's LinkedIn? How's to work for LinkedIn? When I tried to explain that to my parents, I was telling them, listen, this is for me like being in a huge campus in a university, but I get paid for what I do. So instead of like studying and doing exams, I'm working and helping companies out there and helping people. I get paid, but at the same time, I get paid and I learn. It was like a huge university, right? Because of course we have LinkedIn Learning. Before it was, before LinkedIn Learning. We didn't have that platform, but they purchased this platform back in 2017, or I was already there. It was an American company, and then this LinkedIn Learning is great for courses and develop like your skill and works on your skills. But not only that, as a manager, I was lucky enough to have this leader that he was very into coaching. So he made sure that every manager was trained as a coaching for performance, so that we could teach and develop new skills to in our teams. So because it's true, you don't have top performance. Like everyone is not a top performance in a company. It's impossible. You need to have other skills as well. But we were making sure that everyone knew how to become a top performance. What are the tactics or techniques that you need to develop? And also in our one-to-ones, it was like coaching one-to-ones, right? We were implementing coaching everywhere. So yeah, I was a manager, a leader, but I was coaching my team, and at the same time, I got coached by other team members, and it was great because we created this coaching culture. So then I became very into coaching, and I like to coach people and mentor people. So that's one of the things that I really learned, and also. I like many of the things that I do right now at my job in my company comes from my times at LinkedIn. How I use the tool, how I help businesses to work on LinkedIn strategies to attract new talent or new clients, how I help people to work in their brand to attract new opportunities, such as a new job or a new research in a university. So, because I think like LinkedIn is very powerful, but unfortunately here in Spain, sometimes I still hear I don't understand LinkedIn. I don't use it because I don't understand it. So I want to change that. I want everyone to understand this tool, not because I work there. It's just because I see the power of this platform. I couldn't imagine a life without this platform right now. Maybe in a few years we get another one and it's even better. But to be honest, for doing businesses and finding people, look, we met through LinkedIn. We probably didn't
That's
have this
true.
conversation or this interview if it wasn't for LinkedIn. So that's where the magic happens, and it's nice to just to drop a line to someone that you think that has a great profile or that shares values with you, or like it's incredible like how powerful it is. So I learned so many things, and now I'm in a mission of sharing those learnings to others so they can be successful as I am.
I just wanted to ask what's the purpose of your own business, but you just answered that. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
But
Thank
maybe
you.
when I
Yes.
also pick something up, sorry, go ahead.
No, no, I was just saying that, like, yeah, I'm in that mission, right? That I want everyone to have to get this work-life balance. And if you get tools that helps, it will be much easier, right? So that's why I believe in this tool. There are so many other tools out there, but I'm talking about career and businesses. Um, and that's why I want to change that. I want everyone here, at least in Spain, to say, yeah, I understand LinkedIn and I'm using it and I'm getting results thanks to Noelia or to someone else, but they're using it and understand it.
Yeah, no, and that's also really great, right? Because you also mentioned what you learned during your time at LinkedIn, right? And what you also brought then also to your own business. And one thing which I kept from what you just said, right, is being a leader equals being a coach. And I think this is, yeah, what you also took from LinkedIn to your own business. And I think this is a new standard, right? So maybe another question, or also kind of the last question from my side. So on your LinkedIn page, right, there you're having
Yeah.
a quote. Your network is your net worth. What do you mean by that?
Mm. Well, if you think about what I just said, my story, how I ended up on LinkedIn, I ended up like doing my own business, it was because of my network. It was thanks to people that was there, that share with me in somehow experience or job related anything. So thanks to that, I ended up working for LinkedIn. I ended up also working for other companies, of course, and I ended up even like setting up my own business thanks to these people that was encouraging me, like, okay, why you don't do that and what. So that's why I believe that your network, that people that is around you, are very powerful, and definitely they're your net worth, because you never know where you're gonna end it up, right? Like today we're having this conversation, now we're part of our network. uh, Tomorrow, I could have an opportunity for you here in Spain, or maybe you can come and visit my experience retreat. You can come here with your company. I don't know. everything could happen. So that's why I believe that if you surround yourself with the right people that are aligned with what you do, and that where you can add value to what they do and they can add value also to what you do. I'm not saying that you have to be a friend of everyone, right? Because sometimes people ask me, oh, I get a lot of invitations on LinkedIn, a lot of connections requests, but I don't know why. I don't know this person, and it's nothing to do with my business. Then in that case, maybe you don't have to accept that invitation. Like sometimes people is desperate and also just click and add everyone. But if you strategically think about, okay, who is this person, what I can do for this person, how we can collaborate, what are the things that we can do together, then is where magic happens. Then that's why I believe that your network is your net worth. Definitely.
Nothing to add. I love this one. Maybe last question from my side. Self-awareness,
Yes.
self-reflection, mental health, recharging, purpose. Buzzword bingo or what?
Oof. Oh, you mentioned a lot of things here. I'm gonna be. I think like mental health. I believe that is super important. Without mental health, you cannot have self-reflections or self-awareness, to be honest, because there are many things, many monkey minds like going around. So, and also no purpose. Like if you're mentally you're not healthy, it's just something that is gonna stop you. So that's why I'm a huge ambassador of mental health and mental health awareness every time I can. During my time at LinkedIn, I was almost in burnout as well, and I spoke up and I share my experience with colleagues in an all hands to the whole company. And everyone was telling me, "You're very brave. You've been very brave." But we're humans, so you don't have to be afraid of saying, "I need help." Especially when we were in the middle of a pandemic or in a situation that you never dealt with, and everyone has also personal stuff. So never judge someone without knowing what is behind. So for me, I will stay with mental health.
Interesting choice, but thank you for sharing your thoughts on this one. But basically also thank you for your time, Noelia. We are at the end of our conversation. I really have had a lot of fun. I hope it was also enjoying for you. But maybe over to
It
you
was
for the
great.
last words.
So for the last word, I mean, I will summarize what I just said, right? Follow your dreams. It's true that maybe it's a very common word, sentence. Follow your dreams. Yeah, everyone can make it. No, not everyone can make it if you don't have an action plan. So if you have a dream, you're probably going to hear a lot of people saying you cannot do it, or it's too much, or blah, 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 right? Go and surround yourself with the right people where you can learn, people that have been there before. Look for your, who are your references out there. Look at them, approach them through LinkedIn. Don't be afraid to knock doors, because that's the only way you can learn, and go for it. And if you fail, you can do something else. I mean, we only live once, and you don't want to one day live in this world just saying, "Oh, what if, right?" I will say that what if, no, when it's too late, but what if from today onwards, That's what I would say.
Thank you for that, Noelia. Really had a great conversation, and maybe one day in person. When you're in Munich, let me know. The coffee's on
Yes,
me.
yes, I will. I will definitely. Thank you so much, Christian.
Perfect. Take care.
Bye.